Incoming transmission. Radio Rebellion.
Welcome to the Rebellion, Radio Rebellion, a Star Wars podcast. How are you guys doing? Thanks for joining us for another episode of Season 2 of Radio Rebellion. I am your host, Alberto Calderon. You guys know me already. You see me every week. It's been, can't believe, 7 months already since we did our first official podcast, not the YouTube videos. That's probably about 4 or 5 months ago, but it's going fast. I'm grateful for you guys to be here as always. Thanks again for taking your time, especially today. There's a lot of things happening today. DC fandom. There's a lot of people out there. So if you're a DC fan and you're in here right now, thank you. Thanks for taking the time to talk some Star Wars. I see some of you guys out here already. Dale, how you doing? Thanks, Dale, for coming on. Yeah, we'll talk about Master Luke. He's everywhere. So Michael Condor from the 2 channel already saying he wants to boycott this. Well, I won't say too many bad things about you today because you were here with us last week. Our last episode actually just broke 100 views. So thank you, Michael, for being here. Thank to all the fans out there who watched the show live on YouTube, have watched the replay, and everyone that has listened to it on the podcast so far. Jessica, hi. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi, ready to think about my favorite hero and his tragic yet hopeful life. Yeah, he does have a tragic life, but it is very hopeful. Hello to RFB, Anthony A. Rudolph Farmboy. How you doing? Thanks for jumping on the show today. And to everyone else as they're coming in, we'll check on them. So sorry for the delay. Nothing happened. Talking with our guest, had a little bit of a connection issue, but he's here. We're going to have fun talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi, his tragic past, and just tragedy in general in Star Wars. But we're here. Thank you guys again. I know it's a busy weekend. There's a virtual convention out there, and unfortunately it's not the Star Wars one, but maybe, who knows, maybe we'll get something. Probably not. We didn't even get the Mandalorian Season 2 trailer, and we might talk about it in a few minutes. Got the new stickers. I think you guys saw the tweet a few days ago. So these bad boys might be going out in a few days, or some of you guys, if you want. We still have some of the old ones that we need to give out. And like I mentioned before, it's great having friends that know you're a Star Wars fans, because then they give you stuff. So I got some more cool stickers I might start sending out, some Vader ones, Kylo Ren. So yeah, some cool stuff coming to the Radio Rebellion Network. I might send to you guys because that's why we do it. Thanks to everyone again. 100 views on our last show, 600 plays on the podcast. Just cracked that 300 Twitter followers. So thank you guys. Star Wars, it's alive for everyone. So with that out of the way, I know you're here for me, but a lot for my guest who's coming on. You guys know him as Talking with My Hands. So let's just bring him in and talk some Star Wars, and there we go. So how are you doing, my friend?
How are you? This is quite the honor. I feel like there's a lot of star power in the live chat crew right now. I'm feeling a little bit of stage fright, to be honest with you. I know we had some connection issues here, which I'm a little bit ashamed of. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry for the disappointment that you can't see my ugly mug today, but I'm still nervous nonetheless.
They'll manage. I think we'll be fine. But no, yeah. Sometimes the chat can be intimidating. Sometimes, especially they have some good questions sometimes and some trivia. Those stump you hard. That Anthony, that RFB, he has some nice Star Wars trivia, and I couldn't answer his last couple of questions, so we gotta be careful.
Very good. I can't wait. Actually, this is a show that I'm a regular viewer of. I don't always catch it live, but I always try to catch the replay. And this has been this is almost a dream come true.
Come on, man!
I can't believe I'm on here. This is crazy. But this is part of the reason, why we're both on Twitter and why social media for us Star Wars fans has been really cool, because I get to meet cool people like you, and I get to go on podcasts and talk about things like Obi-Wan and his life. And
Oh man.
it's never something I would have thought of doing. And I'm sure 7 months ago when you started this, it was like, this foreign dream that you'd be out here having this great show and having all your plays on the podcast. And, here we are. It's just been a real blessing.
Yeah, and it's kind of why the reason that we started this, at least on my end, was, and I've said it before, just listening to podcasts and YouTube shows talking about Star Wars and wanted to be part of those conversations, because I had my own ideas and thoughts of why something worked for me a different way than the people talking about it on their shows. And I wanted to either know this is why an Obi-Wan show works or X. So being able to just say, hey, I'm just going to go in, throw my hat into the ring, as they say. I know there's Star Wars podcast. I know there's a bunch out there, but Star Wars community is great. Once you start meeting a few of those regular fans, and especially other podcasters, other YouTubers, man, they'll lift you up. They'll start sharing your tweets, and every time you have a show, they'll bump it up. So this Star Wars community is great. I do appreciate a lot you saying that you're a regular of the show and wanting to be here. Same goes both ways. So I'm really excited that we're able to do this today.
Oh my God, this is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. Yeah. I've been out all day. I just came back from a whole production set that I was on. We were shooting a commercial for one of the Board of Tourism where I'm from, where I'm from up here in Jersey. And I was like, guys, everybody stop the production. We got to go back. I got to be on this great podcast. I'm not kidding. It actually happened. They're like, where are you going? I'm like, I got to go to this great podcast. I'm leaving you guys. And we left, and here we are. This is going to be a great time.
Yeah, you can't let Radio Rebellion waiting. Not for me, but for all the fans out there. They'll get on me quick, and I'll blame you. I don't care.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you were talking about the reason that you started, and then kind of everyone you've met so far. So what's your Star Wars story? What got you into Star Wars, and then why did you decide to have your own YouTube show?
Well, there's two different stories. The first, in regards to how I got into Star Wars, it's sort of like a daze to me. I don't remember what order I watched the movies in. And a lot of people do. Like, a lot of people have like their whole like, oh, I remember seeing the originals in theaters. I remember seeing episode 1 in theaters. I didn't see any of them in theaters, actually. I was not alive when the originals came out. I was alive and could have gone to see the prequels. However, I did not. I didn't get into Star Wars until about 2006-ish, and my family was in Walt Disney World at the time. I was the younger kid, and on the television in Walt Disney World at our resort, Revenge of the Sith was on about a year after it had come out, and we turned it on, and it was the scene of Anakin burning alive by the lava, and that was my first exposure to Star Wars. Obviously everybody knows the names and everybody knows the general gist of the story, but you don't really get the nitty-gritty details. So like, I knew Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader just by name and reputation only, but then to see Anakin burning alive, it was almost like, well, now I have to see what happens. So that was my first introduction, and it's kind of been a blur from there. You just kind of get into it, and it's like a snowball effect. You start reading articles on Wikipedia, and you start watching YouTube, and it all kind of opens up out in front of you. And I had talked to my friends about starting a Star Wars YouTube channel for a long time, and it basically boiled down to them being like, Ian, can you please be quiet and actually just do it this time? We don't want to hear about Star Wars anymore. Just talk into the camera, please. So we started in March of this year, actually, and we've had, the fans the fans of Star Wars and these people that I follow on Twitter have been really gracious and just have showed up to every single one of my videos, and I've gotten a lot of support. I grew up, I shouldn't say grew up, but like, a lot of the people on YouTube, Alex and Molly of Star Wars Explained and AT Chat, these guys, Hello Greedo, these guys are, people that I look up to and inspire my sort of, but now to like be not on their playing field, but to be in that fraternity with people like you and them, and it's sort of weird. It doesn't quite feel real, but I'm so glad to be here because I've met so many great people. So I should have done this ages ago.
Yeah, it's one of those things that once you start, it's hard to kind of pull out of it and not wonder why we didn't start before. And even at the beginning, I was kind of off after the first couple of shows that I did, the first podcast podcast episode they weren't getting enough plays or things like that. Am I really wasting my time, or are people really gonna want to hear another guy talk about Star Wars? So then you gotta put some time into it, have a little bit of patience, like we know in Star Wars, and then that's when you start meeting people, meeting fans. RFB, I remember the first tweet I sent to Rural Farm Boy. He tweeted out his whole list of all the podcasts that he sees, and I just remember, hey, if you have time for one more, I just started a podcast. He subscribed to it, tweeted it out, and then from that day, just started building, and we're here talking with you again. Thanks for all your wonderful words, everything back at you, because I'll be on your show at some time. I'll make sure the camera works well.
You definitely will. And I've wanted to get you on for a while. We were just talking for a second there off air before the show started, but I do want to get you on air, and we'll get you on Fan Interviews. We'll do the whole thing. Maybe we'll do a little collab, a little special video. I'm in the middle right now of doing a few other videos. I have to, I just finished reading behind me. You can't see it, but I just finished reading Free Fall. Poe Dameron Free Fall by Alex Segura, which is really good. So I have that review all typed up. So I got to do that one. And I'm going to make a Star Wars Resistance video for Resistance Remembered, which is coming up in a few days, which is a really cool little event some folks have put together on Twitter, which I'm not officially a part of, but it's a cool idea. So I'm going to support it. And so I'm going to try and put that video out. But this is the focus right now, and it is just an honor to be here.
Cool, thanks. So talking about fan interviews, where did that idea come from that you wanted to add that to as a part of your show?
You know what? It's sort of an uninspiring story, to be honest with you. It just, I hate to say that because now people are like, oh, great, here we go. Another half hour.
Next question.
No, it's just sort of, it was just like, it came to me in the shower, actually. I was like, I'm having a really fun time talking to a lot of the people on Twitter, like the people of Twitter and the people that make up the Star Wars fandom. And as a small YouTube account, obviously I don't have the weight to, just grab Harrison Ford or, Dave Filoni or these big time actors and authors or whatever. So I said, who cares about them? Like, let me talk to some people that actually make up the fandoms and really interesting people like yourself, or the people that we've had on fan interviews so far, Chloe and Olivia and my friend Luke, because those are the people that not matter more, but those are the people that I think get overlooked. Like these really great fans that make great content, and I always wanted to showcase that, and that is I've said it a million times now, but that's the best part of being on Twitter and being on YouTube is meeting other fans. So that's sort of where the inspiration came from. And it's sort of snowballed from there. I've only have a few episodes out, but they're by far the most watched on the channel. So I just can't wait to do more.
Yeah, I mean, people always want to hear from other fans because I can talk Star Wars all day for the rest of my life, but if I'm just doing it to myself or it's just my ideas, then it kind of gets boring, basically. So hearing other people talk about the same stuff, but coming from a different perspective, everyone wants to see that. It doesn't have to be actors or writers, because unfortunately they go through so many interviews that they get the same questions over and over. So there's things we've already heard before, but having new people, new fans that you just met a few weeks ago or months through Twitter, we know they're great fans, and then just bringing them on, it elevates the channel a little bit, gets voices to other people that don't have a podcast because they don't feel comfortable talking on camera or whatever, but you still give them that choice or that avenue to express themselves and their love for this franchise.
Absolutely. And everybody has a Star Wars story. Every fan has a little story of how they saw the movies the first time, or how they got first exposed to it, or what kind of fan they are. So I just felt like it was the right sort of thing to do, almost like it just felt like a natural extension of something that the channel should do.
Yeah. So you mentioned kind of not seeing the movies in theaters, the original ones, just kind of being in Disney World. You see that scene of Anakin burning or Darth Vader burning. Do you remember? Did you already know this story? Kind of a little bit, what happened with that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father, or was that a surprise when you saw it? The movie the first time?
No, I mean, when I saw the movies, or I was in, fifth grade, the sixth grade, I can't remember, but obviously I had a lot of fans that were geeks. We're all, these nerdy folks. So like I had a lot of nerdy friends and they saw them in the movie. So like I kind of got the gist of it. Like like I knew that Darth Vader was Luke's father and I knew that they were Jedi and like you kind of know just by default by hearing it through the grapevine. But I didn't know the nitty-gritty details. So like when I watched it for the first time, I'm sure I was surprised, but to be quite honest with you, I don't remember watching the movies or what order I watched them in. I'm fairly certain it was 1 through 6.
Sure.
At the time, and I don't remember if I was surprised or which ones I loved at first or which ones I hated, but I remember just loving them instantly, like just being completely enthralled and wanting to learn every little bit about every single character. So obviously they made a very significant impact, but bouncing off of that, it was sort of the thing when I was a kid, and you can definitely speak to this. There was just 6 movies. Like we didn't.
Hey, there was 3 when I was a kid. I am a little bit older than you, so there was only 3 when I was growing up. But
see,
yeah, I never know when you're going.
But when the prequels came out and finally Episode 3 wrapped up, I think everybody's mind sort of settled on. Well, there's 6. The sky is blue, grass is green. There are 6 Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
That is just it. And it was something that I had accepted in life at the time. I do remember that because then when The Force Awakens was announced and Disney bought the franchise and had this whole revival, I thought, holy smokes, I'm going to get to see a Star Wars movie in theaters. I'm like, they're going to do this. It was like this crazy life experience.
Yeah. So yeah, I do remember when they announced that Disney bought Lucasfilm, and I didn't believe it at first because rumors of new movies had always been there before that happened. And the way I found out, it was a friend of mine. They were at home. I think this was around October. I want to say that it came out when Disney had bought it. The original kind of news came out. They were at home with our kids. We were doing some pumpkins, carving pumpkins, I think.
Yeah.
And he's on Facebook, hey, there's new movies coming out. Disney just bought Lucasfilm. They're doing more Star Wars. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I've heard it. And then I log in. I say, and everywhere, Star Wars. I'm, no, this is not the way I want to find out. So I was excited, but at the same time bummed that the way I found out it wasn't I wanted something more.
Yeah, right. I totally get it. But it was crazy still. Like I still remember back to that time, and I still think, how blessed I was to see at least some in theaters, because it was at the time I just didn't know if I'd ever get to see that. And of course, we always heard the rumors, air quotes I'm doing right now, that George Lucas is going to do more movies, and you just kind of take it with like a grain of salt, and you're like, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. Yeah. But then it actually happened, and it was just an absolutely mind-boggling life event. No matter whether you think they were good or bad or in between, I feel like everybody has to respect the fact that we got more than what we had. And that's amazing. I mean, that's incredible. It's like I said, the grass was green, the sky was blue. There was 6 Star Wars movies, and now we have 11, and that's amazing.
Yeah, that year or 2 years between when it was announced to The Force Awakens came out, that's a great year for all Star Wars fans. We were all so excited, didn't know what to expect. Like you say, just more Star Wars, just give it to us. And at least in my case, I love Force Awakens. I really enjoyed that whole sequel trilogy. Force Awakens is in my top 3, 4. Someday I'll do my official ranking, but it's up there. I love that movie, and just the build up to it was great. But yeah, same thing. I've watched all the movies. I've seen some of them in theaters, not the original ones. Although I do say that I saw Return of the Jedi when I was 3 years old, but I think so. I don't know. I was pretty young at the time. But I don't remember when I learned that Vader was Luke's father. That's something that's always been there. So I wish I could go back and relive that.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember. To me, it's always been there. Probably someone said it, and by the time I saw the movie, I knew it was going to happen. So,
yeah, I feel the same way. It was actually something I talked to. It's one of the questions that I ask on fan reviews, actually. What was your definitive Star Wars moment that got you into the franchise? And not my friend Luke because he saw it when he was very young, but both Olivia, Sith Lord Olivia, and Chloe, Lightsaber Queen on Twitter, both saw the movies at an age where they could remember it vividly. And I envy that. Like I envy them because they remember how they reacted when they saw it. And same thing for you and I, like we can't remember that. And it's nice to say that we've been a Star Wars fan our whole lives, but at the same time, I do wish, just like you, I could go back and just relive those moments again for the first time and experience that, because it's something that I just can't recall from my memory.
Yeah, maybe when I'm a bit older, I get senile, and then I'll watch the movies again. I'll be able to experience it for the first time again.
That's the strangest way to look at getting older and senile.
Yes.
I'm gonna love it.
I can't wait till I forget everything. No. I start getting some comments. You were bashing the senile community. I try to keep it. Everyone needs to be love everything.
That's crazy.
So before we move to a couple of news items, so where did the Talking with My Hands name came out? Because we're talking before this. I didn't know your real name till 30 minutes after we're supposed to start shooting, Ian. But where did the Talking with My Hands name came about?
It was actually in the shower, just like fans reviews.
You're gonna have to put a warning on this show, on this episode.
That's where I do all my thinking. You have no idea. I stand there in the shower. I'm like, "What's a great idea for a video?" But it does. I was just because I do like when in real life, my friends know I'm very expressive and I talk with my hands a lot. So I'm like, I was sitting there in the shower. I'm like, talking with my hands sounds really good. And this was, back in March before I actually made the channel. I was like, that's it. That's what I'm going with. And I just went with it. And I guess it's catchy enough that people can remember it and it kind of rolls off the tongue a little bit. But there really is no inspiring story. I was just sitting there in the shower and I was like, it just came to me. They have a story about J.K. Rowling when she came up with Harry Potter. Like it all just sort of flooded into her on the train and she wrote it down on the napkin.
Okay.
That was sort of my J.K. Rowling moment. I was in the shower. I'm like, I have to do this right now.
Hopefully your future is better than J.K. Rowling's right now that everyone's hating on her. So
I hope so too.
Yeah. So bit of news on your side. A few weeks ago, I guess it was revealed that you're joining the Death Star Dispatch podcast. Where did that come from? And did it happen in the shower when you said yes?
Well, Fred called me in the shower. No, that would have been quite the story, though. No, Fred and I at Death Star Dispatch have had a couple of shows together before the podcast, and we just kind of hit it off. And he's now one of my best friends on here, and we just, whenever we're together, we talk for 3 or 4 hours on Zoom, before the show even starts. So we were just like, he had been doing this podcast for a few episodes. He's like, why don't you just come on? Because he wanted to have me on a couple more times. He's like, why don't you just come on and be a co-host? And I was like, yeah, sure. That's great. And it's, we just recorded an episode with Priscilla and she was fantastic. And I'm just, it didn't really, there was no buildup. It just sort of was the right thing to do. It was a natural progression. And, we hit it off, me and Fred, when there's always good content when me and Fred get together. So we just said, you know what, let's just do it. Like, let's just get this podcast going. So we're feeling things out still. We're still trying to, find our way in the universe, if you will. And we're still trying to just play it by ear. We don't know if we're going to do it weekly just yet. We're just kind of doing this a la carte. When we get somebody really interesting to come on, we'll do an episode, because we both still want to keep our channels very lively and keep them separate, obviously, because we both have something really good going for us, both on YouTube. And then we just wanted to have our moment together where we knew we can make really good content. And the podcast was a great place to do that. So, we're not getting our hopes up too much right now. We're just kind of keeping it low key and seeing where things take us. But it's really cool being on the podcast. And again, it's one of those things where I get to talk to really, really cool people.
Did you ever, before you started your YouTube channel, did you debate YouTube or podcast, or was it always YouTube for you?
It was never podcast for me. Actually, I never, ever dreamed of doing a podcast. I have no experience doing podcasts. I was on a radio show in college, and that has turned into a podcast that I will guest star on every once in a while. but I don't have any experience like actually setting up podcasts or recording
Mhm.
podcasts, and I'm not good at editing with audio, but my background is in broadcast communication. So I have
Okay.
edited and shot video and wrote video and done all of that for years and years and years. This is like my 8th or 9th year being a broadcaster. So doing video and doing YouTube was just more comfortable for me.
Yeah,
And
sure.
I felt in my head I could be a little bit more creative with YouTube. Some people, are really have a really great podcast like yourself, and the content is just so much and it's so good.
Yeah.
But for me, I never felt like I could get that much content out in a podcast. I felt like short videos, 7 to 13 minutes was just felt very comfortable to me, and it was something that I knew how to do very well. And it was never a doubt in my mind that it was always going to be YouTube. I don't know down the road what holds for what is in store for myself or Fred for that matter, but I know YouTube will always be the main focus for me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I had that debate at the beginning. I've talked about it here before. I wanted to do YouTube, but I didn't know the hell to start it. And podcast came a little bit easier just through Anchor. Just plug it in and start going. The first few episodes were done from my phone, which seems pretty simple. But it didn't allow me to kind of express myself a little bit more. Every time I thought, if I don't hit every point and I made a mistake or I twist my tongue, I got to start all over again.
Yeah,
Here
right.
on YouTube, I can just play it off. If I need to think for a minute, it works instead of just a lull during the podcast where you don't hear anything for 2 seconds and you think everything just failed. So it's allowed me to be a little bit more myself, and I do feel more comfortable doing this. So let's go ahead and talk some Star Wars news, if you don't mind.
Let's do it. We
All
have
right.
actually, or the Star Wars news or lack thereof, Star Wars news at the moment.
Yeah, so you were talking before we go into Star Wars news that just finding content for podcasts is difficult, and for myself, at least half of my show is talking about Star Wars news, and this past few months have been basically nothing, just trying to report on rumors, which is not the best anyways.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel you totally. Like on the YouTube channel, like at least on mine, like I try to stay away from the rumor news mill because I don't want to intrude on people like yourself that do all the news stuff. Like I'd rather talk about other things, but like I feel like my YouTube channel has become like book review centric, but like that's the only thing that's been happening. So I'm like, I feel bad that like the content isn't that interesting, but like what else do you want? And I totally feel your pain. It's like, come on, give us something.
Yeah, I know we're 1 week away from what would have been Star Wars Celebration. Then it'd be too much news to cover in one show.
Yeah, right. And that's I'm feeling the pain right now. I wish we could have just a little bit of content to do.
Yeah, and especially these last few days with rumors and scoops and stuff not happening, people are going nuts. So you gotta stay away from them if you can.
Yeah, the rumor mill is something that I take, sort of offhandedly. I don't know where these people get their sources. I don't even know if their sources are real. I'm sure most of them are not, but it's something that I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm ready to go again, I guess, if we're gonna do this rumor. But they have bitten us in the back a couple of times, haven't they?
Yeah, I know. We'll talk about one rumor real quick, and then we'll go to. There's actually one official news it's an interview with Kathleen Kennedy. We'll talk a little bit about it because it involves Obi-Wan, which is our main topic today. So before we start, let me say hi to a few new people that came in the chat. Ben, how you doing, Ben? You say that you saw Return of the Jedi Act 3 is your first ever memory. Again, I do the same thing because I was 3 when that movie came out. So hopefully you do remember seeing it and that memory is implanted there forever. X-Drive talking about, do you know Obi-Wan named himself Ben because that's what Satine called him when he and Qui-Gon protected her? I didn't know that. We're going to talk about this part a little bit, I think, but we'll see. So yes, if you guys are ready, I know I'm ready. Let's talk Star Wars. So Star Wars news. And before we go into actual news, I just mention a little bit about the rumors and scoop that we were getting, supposedly that Mandalorian season 2 trailer a few days ago. What are your thoughts on all? I think we covered it already. Kind of scoops are good, but at the same time, we don't know where they're coming from.
Yeah,
so we just gotta hold our expectations, I guess.
And this is not the first time, someone has said, "Oh, trailer for so and so is coming out." It always seems to be during like a big sporting event, right?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, everybody's like, "Oh, the trailer's going to come out during the Super Bowl, or it's going to come out, at least in this case, NBA Finals," just because it seems like the right thing to do. Like if you were going to put a commercial on TV, it should be during a large sporting event. But I don't know where these people get their scoops. Like it's not that I don't believe them, because I think some of them are probably real, just mathematically that would make sense. But at the same time, like, how can you totally believe that? I've always said if it's not on StarWars.com, it's not confirmed. But I'm just sort of almost over the rumors, air quotes, and the scoops, air quotes, that people come up with on Twitter, because I think some of the accounts, I'm not saying all of them, because I think some of them are legit, but I think some of them are just for clout and just for attention. And then Twitter just runs with it. And especially now, because there's no content, we can grab onto anything and just be like, this is going to happen. And, it's just not going to. But the Mandalorian trailer did not show up when they said it was going to show up. So some people's reputations were hurt.
Yes, I know. And then try to back off a little bit. And I'm fine if they say, hey, we heard the Mandalorian trailer, whatever, it's coming out soon, and kind of leave it. When you start putting dates to it, then that's when trouble starts, I guess.
Yeah, and you know what? It's one thing to say on Twitter that, hey, we heard that maybe a Mandalorian trailer is coming at so-and-so date. Like, if you word it in a way that you heard it through the grapevine, that sort of covers you liability-wise, where you can come back and say, oh, it was just a rumor, like, don't take this seriously. But if you straight up tweet Mandalorian trailer tomorrow during the NBA Finals, don't come back and then say, it was just a rumor, don't come at me. Because you didn't phrase it as a rumor. You phrased it as news. So you can't go back and say that.
Yeah. And with that said, let's go to our first story, which is a rumor. It is that rumors are out there. And again, this is from Casaron Transmission, that Lucasfilm is working on a Ben Solo Disney Plus series, or Kylo Ren. I think they said Ben Solo. I'm not 100% sure. But they know how popular Ben Solo is at the moment, and they want to capitalize on this, and are looking to make a Disney Plus series on him. No idea if this will take place before The Force Awakens or after The Rise of Skywalker. But I guess moving away from the rumors, if we think this is true or not, do you want to see more Ben Solo / Kylo Ren?
Absolutely. Absolutely. He was easily, for me, the most compelling character in the sequel trilogy. Just the one that just completely made me think outside the box and made me think about his feelings and what he was going through at the time. He was probably out of all the dark side centric characters in Star Wars, next to Anakin Skywalker, I think he's the most deep and complex that you can definitely break down to almost a molecular level. So absolutely, I'd love to see Ben Solo coming back. Now, I don't know what capacity I'd like to see him in. Obviously, a Disney Plus live action series would be fantastic. I know, or I don't know for a fact, but I have heard in the rumor mill that it is not going to be Adam Driver. And I would not expect it to be Adam Driver, because I think a lot of the sequel trilogy actors are done. I think their contracts are up, and that's fine. They're actors. They're just doing a job. But I don't know how you bring back Kylo Ren in a Disney Plus series if it's not played by Adam Driver. It could be Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo situation, where maybe you get a really young guy to play a younger Ben Solo before The Force Awakens. I think that would be really cool. But then you run into the issue where it's like, well, if it's really young Ben Solo, then he's probably at Luke's Academy. I don't think they're going to get Mark Hamill to play Luke Skywalker again. So then what is it about? Then you start unraveling it, and you see where, the Disney Plus series doesn't really make any sense. So I don't know. I'd love to see him in any capacity, whether it's a show or a book. It is fantastic for me. I love the Star Wars books. I loved the Rise of Kylo Ren comic series. I thought that was really good. Yeah. Even if it's that, I'd love that as well. But a lot of it doesn't make sense just from a logistics standpoint. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree. If this happens, I don't think there's a few options, I guess. So if it's a live action show, I don't see this being after The Rise of Skywalker, because I don't think that Adam Driver will come back so soon, like you said. And if it's before The Force Awakens, same thing. They'll have to de-age him. It's not really de-age. It's only been 5-6 years, but I don't see him going back for that. So you can do an animated show either before or after, which makes more sense to do it before. And then you can play off his fall a little bit more, but then you gotta be careful you don't mess up with the rest of Kylo Ren comic book or what
Hmm.
happens in The Force Awakens. So I was
Hmm.
thinking about this, and I think either, I guess, an animated show, because we got, of course, the Great Clone Wars for that era. Then we got Rebels in between. There's nothing right now for the sequel era, animated wise. So if you could do an animated show with the main characters being the First Order and how they rebuild, because this is being told a little bit through the books, not too much, but having either Kylo Ren about to fall and showing his doubt of the light and the dark, but
Hmm.
focusing in on the First Order, how they're rebuilding, how they start this war against the Resistance, because the First Order is not a political, it's not part of the government. It's something else that just came out of the unknown region. So how did they go from that to attacking the New
Yeah.
Republic and all that stuff? I think that might be interesting, and it might work better as an animated show. And then you cast a great voice actor that we know that Star Wars is great at doing that, and then you can further the story that way.
Yes.
Like one of our friends here on the chat, just Jessica Carlos is saying, let me read these comments real quick. If they make a Ben Solo series, show like a prequel showing his obsession with his grandfather and fall to the dark side. Again, that's a great way to go about it. The Rise of Kylo Ren comic book touches a little bit on this, but it's and spoilers for anyone that hasn't read it. It's right when the Academy burns. Basically, that's when it starts. It does have a little bit of a flashback to his time with Luke and Lord Santeca. So maybe pick it up from there and do flashbacks. She also talks about casting Finn Wolfhard as Ben Solo and Sebastian Stan as young Luke Skywalker. That you can do that. And who knows? It's a way. I know Finn Wolfhard has been one of fan casting for years for a young Ben Solo. Same for Sebastian Stan. So I think there's ways to go around it, not using Adam
Yeah.
Driver. But I wouldn't do the Alden Ehrenreich for Solo thing, because I think people will go nuts if someone else is casted live action at that age for Kylo Ren, because they love Adam Driver so much in that role that I think people would riot. So
Yeah.
either do
And
it with a younger character or animated.
that's exactly what I was about to bring up. Finn Wolfhard has been Solo. Obviously, you and I both know that has been going.
Yeah.
That fan cast has been around forever, and it's
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. It looks just like him. I think it would be great, but to so soon after the sequel trilogy ends, switch actors and then say, oh, we're going with this new Ben Solo. It does not give Adam Driver the respect his performance deserves as Ben Solo, because as much as I love Daisy Ridley's performance and John Boyega's performance and Oscar Isaac's performance, Adam Driver's was by far the most dynamic in the three movies, I think. So to not give that time to breathe and time to build that sort of aura around it that it deserves, I think is sort of disheartening towards Adam Driver, who does not deserve that at all. So I think the animated series, if they are going the Disney Plus route, and that part of the rumor is true, I would see the animated series as a viable option, I guess. But just beyond that, more Ben Solo content in the works is not surprising at all. I think we can agree on that. I think having more Ben Solo coming from Lucasfilm is exactly the right move, and I don't find that rumor to be surprising whatsoever. The surprising part is that it's a Disney Plus air quotes series.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we know there's going to be more with Ben Solo, Kylo Ren, probably more Ben Solo. Everyone loves him. Even people that really didn't like the sequel trilogy always go to, oh, I did love Kylo Ren. One of my brothers, he's not the greatest fan of the sequel trilogy, but he'll tell you, oh, my favorite part was Kylo. And it's, apart from Daisy Ridley and from Rey, is that one character that goes through a whole transformation from beginning to end. So yeah, it makes complete sense that they're looking to do something. And again, this might be 3 to 5 years in the future. We know how long animated shows take to make, how many others Disney Plus series are officially in the work. So if it happens, it's still ways off. So I wouldn't worry too much about it right now. It's rumors, but we do expect some more Ben Solo at some point down the road.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. So I had
Absolutely.
another rumor. I'm not gonna touch on the other rumor because we already talked about rumors enough. So let's talk about something that happened. I think yesterday, Kathleen Kennedy was talking with The Wrap, I believe, and there was two things that she mentioned. One was, let me make sure I wrote it correctly because it came out kind of late after all my show notes were done. So she talked about stepping back a little bit and thinking about what the future is for Star Wars, which makes sense, of course. I think this is something that we've known anyway, even if she didn't come up and say it. And I think Bob Iger or someone in the past had mentioned that they're taking a step back on the movies. The next trilogy has been delayed for an extra year. So we do know that they're stepping back a little bit. Do you like that this came out officially from the president of Lucasfilm saying, hey, we're stepping back, taking a look at what we're doing moving forward and planning everything out?
Yeah, I love it. I love that move, and I go back to when they were really on a binge around The Last Jedi, when they were just like, we're doing these anthology films every other year. We're gonna have The Last Jedi, and then it was The Last Jedi, and it was like 2 months, and then it was Solo, and things were just coming out at this rapid pace. And I remember going into Solo and being like, I am burnt out. Like I don't know how much more Star Wars I can take. I love it to death, but man, every 5 or 6 months we got to go through the whole Star Wars thing with the fans and the complaining and the this and that and all the things that come along with Star Wars. It's exhausting and it's tiring and it's not enjoyable. But to hear from Kathleen Kennedy herself and hear her say, we are taking a step back and looking in the mirror and saying, where do we want this to go is really a good sign, because it means they're taking it seriously. Not that they would, but it really means that they're really, really taking it seriously, where they want to go with Star Wars. Because I would not want to be Kathleen Kennedy right now, because Star Wars has always been the Skywalkers and it's always been the Kenobis and the Solos and it's always been them. Where do you go? Like, what stories do you tell now? It's an impossible decision to make. So I'm glad that they're taking their extra time.
Yes, one of those unenviable positions that, we all want to work for Lucasfilms and do Star Wars stuff. Okay, here you go. Decide where the next 20 years of Star Wars are going to go. Well, actually, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We have great stuff coming with the High Republic, hopefully at the beginning of next year, which is totally separate, we hope. And it's that balance that us as Star Wars fans have, because for years people have been saying, just get away from Skywalkers, get away from the Jedi, give us something new. But on the other side, we are, more Ben Solo, the Bad Batch is coming. Just give me a story of Luke Skywalker after Return of the Jedi. So it's that balance of give us something new away from legacy characters and saga that we know. But on the other end, the other half is like, no, this is what I love. Give me more of this. So it's that position that we don't want to be there right now. It's a pretty hard place to be in at the moment. But I do trust Kathleen Kennedy. I trust everyone at Lucasfilm that they know what they're doing. It's great that this is officially out there, so people can calm down a little bit. I think a few weeks ago we were talking about, again, rumors that were 9 TV shows in production. And it's like, come on, slow down a little.
Yeah, and you know what? That was a rumor that I remember seeing and just being like, oh, good Lord. And like, in production does not mean they are shooting them right now. And I think a lot of people get that idea in their mind, like, oh, they're in production. The scripts are written. They're shooting them. And it's not that. In production could just mean they have had a meeting and somebody brought it up and it's on the brainstorming table. It's not even like a real thing at the moment. So, most of those will probably never turn out to be a thing, but I'm glad that they are taking their extra time. They're thinking about it seriously, because it's a hard decision to make and it's going to backfire either way. So just take your time. If it takes another 3 years, who cares, quite honestly, because I think a lot of people forget that Disney bought the franchise in 2014. It's only been 6 years they've had the franchise. So
it's been 5 movies.
I know.
3 TV shows if you count the Clone Wars coming back. Now the Bad Batch.
Just
dozens
relax.
of books. Yeah, there's
It's
enough.
been
There's
6
enough.
years, and people obviously compare the canon now to Legends, but you can't even do that. Legends has been around for
Yeah.
40 years, 30 years. So just if they had 30 years to make stories, at least give Lucasfilm 10 years to get their foot in the door, you know?
All right. So another comment that she made is for a Disney Plus show that is in production, and we know about this, and it's part of the main character we're going to be talking about today. And I think both of us are on the same plane with this one. She talked about Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series being a limited series. I don't think she said in that interview that it is going to be 4 episodes. I think this been again what's been out there, but basically confirming that it is a limited series. It's just a one-off. If it's 4 episodes, an hour each for 4 hours, I'm down with it. I think we're on the same boat on this one. What are your thoughts about a limited series, Disney Plus? I mean, Kenobi series instead of dragging it out for 4 or 5 seasons.
I love it. This is probably the best news I've gotten this month. This is exactly what it needs to be because first of all, Obi-Wan on Tatooine, just from a timeline standpoint, does not need 4 or 5 different seasons.
Sure.
It's not that long of a story. He's hanging out with Luke. I'm imagining that he probably will not leave Tatooine, right?
Ooh.
So why would you need 4 or 5 different seasons? He doesn't need to meet everybody in the galaxy like we did in Rebels and the Clone Wars. Like, just give us this small, quaint, intimate story. You know, Obi-Wan within himself, Obi-Wan and Luke, Obi-Wan and the Lars family. That's the content that we need. And that's the content that I would love, love, love to see. You know, the main debate that was going on that I just talked about months ago was, in the Kenobi series, does Kenobi leave Tatooine? Yeah. And there's people on both sides of the fence. And there's great arguments there's great arguments for both sides, like why he should or why he shouldn't. But now that we know it's a limited series, that leads me to believe that he's going to stay. I love that about it. I don't think it needs to go through, like I said on Twitter, the whole debacle of filler episodes. Even in The Mandalorian, which I think is amazing from beginning to finish, I don't think there's any filler episodes. Yeah, rep The Mandalorian. We love it. Even some of those middle episodes in The Mandalorian were called filler. I don't think they were, but even in an 8-episode season, there were episodes that people thought were filler episodes. I hate that word. I don't like that moniker for episodes. However, Obi-Wan, the character, and Ewan McGregor do not deserve to go through that drama of trying to figure out which episodes were filler and which were not and why it wasn't that good. 4 episodes, make them beautiful, make them movie-like, obsess over every small little detail in those episodes, and it's going to be fantastic no matter what you do.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. We've all said it. People in the chat are saying it. It makes sense. Make it a limited series, 4 episodes, hopefully not 30, 45 minutes, closer to an hour and 10. But if they're going, because this was originally going to be just one movie, so that's 2.5 hours. So if they get that script extended for another hour or something, and then you have those 4 episodes, it does make sense. It has to be limited series. You can go 2-3 seasons because we know where the story ends and when, because it's so close to, and you hope that that's one story that you can mess up those timelines. You can't do anything that's going to jeopardize the canon that we all go nuts about. I am on the camp that I don't want to say I think, but I would want him to leave Tatooine for some reason. I'm on the same boat that Darth Vader has to be involved in some sense, that he has to still have that confrontation, but it has to be meaningful. It has to be a character-driven story. Everything, again, suffering. That's unfortunately Obi-Wan's lot in life, if we want to go with that quote, that he needs to kind of not make amends, but torment for what he did to Anakin and just leaving him and why he failed Anakin. And if that means staying in Tatooine, having those interactions with the Lars, because we know Owen doesn't want even close to Luke. So having that confrontation between the two of them, some other, again, rumors, and I think it was on a Legends comic book, that there's this Jedi that went to live with the Tusken Raiders, and maybe that's the antagonist of the series. That makes sense. Keeps him on Tatooine, keeps him still protecting Luke, and he doesn't have to leave. It's a great way to go about it, and then still do at least. I want at least one flashback to the Clone Wars era of him with Anakin, with Hayden Christensen, and if you can bring Padme for just one 10-minute scene of them just being chill, just the good times, and
Yeah.
then from then taking on to where Obi-Wan is at that point, just looking after this boy of a father that he loved so much and had to just leave burning, but unfortunately didn't die, became this Dark Lord of the Sith, and having to balance that out. It's a great story to tell, but it does need to be contained, and it's been delayed a little bit, which makes sense. Again, this is one story, like you said, you can't mess up. You Fans have been calling for Ewan McGregor to return for years. He's kept it quiet for 4 years. If they make 8 episodes, 2 of those are considered fillers or they don't move the story, people are gonna go nuts over it. So just keep it contained, make sure everything is locked,
Right.
and people are gonna eat it up.
Less is more. Less is more. And that's what I said in the tweet. If this was just 2 episodes, I'd be fine with it. Great characters do not need a lot of content. They just need the right stories. And this is exactly what should happen. And you know what? Just as a sidebar real quick. I would love the idea of Hayden Christensen returning for a flashback or 2, or Padme or whatever, even though I think Hayden deserves more than a 10-minute flashback. Yeah. I would still love to see it happen as a fan. The one thing that I have not seen, but maybe I have, I'm not really sure at the moment, nobody's been talking about Liam Neeson returning as a Force Ghost for Obi-Wan, which he does in the Clone Wars. Mm-hmm. And he voices him in the Clone Wars. I would love to see Liam Neeson return as Qui-Gon Jinn and show up to Obi-Wan, which I don't know if you've read, but behind me I have From a Certain Point of View, the first one from A New Hope. And one of the stories in there is Qui-Gon showing up to Obi-Wan Kenobi in the desert during the movie when Luke runs off for whatever reason, and talking to Obi-Wan and trying to keep Obi-Wan at peace. I would love, love, love to see Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon have some interactions through the Force in this series.
So I said, yes, I haven't officially read From a Certain Point of View from A New Hope, but I've read that story and the one of Kenobi and Yoda talking when he's going to. But yes, I think it's when Luke goes to check on Owen and Lars and finds them that they've been burned by the stormtroopers. I think it's between that story happens. And I do hope that it has to. He has to have some forced conversation with Qui-Gon Jinn. And hopefully it's one of those Baby Yoda situations that they find a way to keep it quiet and just surprises the hell out of us. And again, just give me 4 episodes and 10 minutes of him talking to Qui-Gon's ghost. Oh man, that's what else to ask? That's yes.
It's beautiful. And you know what? Just 4 episodes, like you said, it has to be him. It would have to be him coming to terms with himself, I think. Mm-hmm. We see Obi-Wan at a place in his life during A New Hope where he's at peace with himself. After everything he's gone through, which we're going to go over in the episode today, but after everything he's gone through, Obi-Wan in A New Hope seems to be at peace with himself, and he lets himself go to Darth Vader, in the second act of the movie. So I'd love to see how he goes from that torn character that we see at the end of Revenge of the Sith to somebody that's at peace with his decisions. And I think that's what this series is going to be all about.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's a great transition to our main topic today, which is the Agony of Kenobi. So all this came up, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Someone posted one of those Twitter things. I think it was a photo of Ben Solo / Kylo Ren. Tell me someone that has suffered more, I'll wait. I think.
Yeah. Yes.
And then a lot of people went to, of course, Leia. We'll talk a little bit about it. And you posted a picture of Kenobi, I think, or just basically saying, Obi-Wan Kenobi has suffered his agony throughout his whole life has been great, but he still managed to stay the person that he was. And I said, yes, that's my aim to get this guy on the show. And we have our topic right there. So when you saw this and you decided to post that, what was going through your mind? Why do you think Obi-Wan is that one character has suffered so much in Star Wars?
Every single episode, it seems like Obi-Wan suffers just this horrible loss. In the first episode, he loses a man who I'm sure he considered as and a really good friend in Qui-Gon Jinn. I think that had to have been devastating. In the Clone Wars, he loses Satine, and that's someone who was probably one of his best friends, going through his life. Then he loses Anakin. Then he has to live in a desert by himself for 20 years, thinking about that. He gets chastised by Owen Lars and told he can't see Luke anymore, which is his only connection with his past, and the one thing that he's been asked to do, which is terrible, terrible, terrible. He has to kill Maul, and Maul is, I guess it's not a sad moment for Obi-Wan, but it's sort of this loss in his life, knowing that I guess Obi-Wan couldn't save Maul or couldn't help him out any more than he could. Because I know somewhere down in Obi-Wan, I'm sure he thought that Maul, there was still something in Maul that was not all terrible, and that I'm sure hurt him. And he has to see his whole order completely fall apart in his hands almost, because of Anakin, what Anakin did to the Jedi Order. A lot of the blame is placed on Obi-Wan, and rightly so. But the order that he loved just crumbles in front of him. Obi-Wan never knows about his family. Does anybody know anything about Obi-Wan's family yet? I don't think so. So he never knows his true family, and the whole family that he grows up with in the Jedi, Padme, Anakin, Satine, Qui-Gon, they all leave him. They all die.
Yeah.
So
we'll go into a few of these a little bit more into detail in a few, but yeah, that's one thing, because people always, if Qui-Gon hadn't died, then maybe Anakin didn't turn. That was his father figure. I mean, he knew Qui-Gon for 2 days, but again, this is a kid that was thrust to Kenobi, who had just become a Jedi Knight, that he wasn't ready. Qui-Gon, yeah, he's ready for the trials, and here you go. Now you have a Padawan that you don't want, and promise me you'll train the boy. So he's thrown this kid that he didn't want to even come with them out of Tatooine. Now he has to train him as a promise to keep to his master. So now he has to act as Anakin's father figure / brother, but at the same time master, trying to teach him the Force with all the baggage that comes. Yeah, this is the chosen one, so you better do a good job, and you just lost your master, so good luck. So I know he has something to do with Anakin's fall, but I think he wasn't ready for a Padawan, especially someone like Anakin.
Absolutely.
But before we go into, go ahead.
I think also too, with Obi-Wan's relationship with Anakin, I think Obi-Wan sees a lot of Qui-Gon in Anakin. I think Anakin and Qui-Gon are very similar. Qui-Gon was very defiant of the Council, and obviously that's Anakin's MO as a Jedi. Anakin does not do what the Council wants. So I think Obi-Wan, every time he looks at Anakin, is reminded of what happened. I just don't see how you don't associate with Anakin. I don't see how Obi-Wan doesn't associate Anakin and Qui-Gon together. He must. Yeah. And you know what? One of the great things, I don't know if you've read the Revenge of the Sith novelization by Matthew Stover. That is like the Star Wars Bible. That's one of my favorite books. It's not canon anymore, but it's still fantastic. But in the book, Matthew Stover talks about how Obi-Wan never really sees himself as a master. He never got that closure, because he was thrust into this life. He always sees himself as the Padawan. He always sees himself as the learner. Even though he's Anakin's master, he never truly gets over Qui-Gon's death, because it happened so suddenly. It happened at a time when he didn't think it would happen. No one had seen the Sith in 1,000 years. They were a foregone, thing. They just never showed up. And all of a sudden the Sith shows up. He kills Qui-Gon, and now he has a Padawan. He just doesn't have time to grieve and time to think about it. So just from that standpoint, Obi-Wan just is suffering constantly.
Yeah. So I haven't read that one yet. I think RFB out there in the chat, he sometimes retweets some of the, I think there's one of those not bots, but accounts that just retweets the novelization. There's some great quotes in it, so I have to get it. But jumping right straight into it, talking about Qui-Gon and not having that closure, I mean, from Master and Apprentice, we know that Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were having issues. Qui-Gon didn't feel that he was the right master for Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan took that as, I'm not a good student. I'm failing my master. I don't know what to do. He's going to kick me out and pawn me on someone else. So they never had that relationship at the beginning. And then when they finally start building that master-apprentice relationship, oh, the Sith just appeared after 1,000 years and your master's dead. So like straight like you said, when they finally start having a connection, that's taken away from him. And he doesn't have time to grieve. He's trained a boy, plus the Jedi, I mean, the Sith are coming, plus there's a war in the horizon. So he just went from being this student that a few years earlier, he wasn't sure if he was even a good student to be a Jedi to this great master, to now having to be a master to supposedly the chosen one. So he's just thrown there after a great tragedy to try to bring this kid up to par, knowing everything else that's bubbling up in the background with the Sith and the Separatists and all this. So I don't know how you deal with that at that point.
And to be so young like Obi-Wan was, Obi-Wan wasn't this old man that, was a seasoned veteran of the Jedi. I mean, Obi-Wan must have been maybe my age, maybe 25, maybe. I don't know how old he was during the Phantom Menace. Maybe that's something I should know. But, he wasn't totally mature. He couldn't have handled that very well. I'm sure in his private hours, he was not the happiest guy. But it's hard right out of the gate. Obi-Wan.
I mean, it's probably in his shower trying to figure out how to train Anakin, but he doesn't.
That's what I would do.
Ideas like you.
That's exactly what I would do, sitting in the shower trying to figure things out.
Yeah, where's Kenobi? We haven't seen him in 30 minutes. He's in the shower thinking of what next trial to give Skywalker.
That's funny.
Yeah, so I do think that the loss of Qui-Gon Jinn did affect Kenobi a lot, and it's something that's not discussed too often. It's always, oh yeah, Anakin just lost his father figure, but it's not talk how much this probably affected Obi-Wan, and I do think it is something that did affect him greatly, as you just said. So then from there he goes to moving a little bit to the Clone Wars, and then we come to the realization that he had a relationship with someone, which is Satine. From the great planet Mandalore, and not just a regular person. She's the queen or the ruler of Mandalore. And what was your reaction when you saw this the first time, that Obi-Wan, that we know for me, he's what the Jedi kind of should be.
Yeah.
And every time he tells Anakin, oh, we got to keep separate, there's no attachment. But he did have that attachment with someone. What were your first thoughts seeing this?
I remember actually seeing this for the first time. This is one of those Star Wars things where I do remember. I remember thinking at the time, wow, he's human.
Yeah.
Like you don't get that vibe from Obi-Wan in at least Attack of the Clones and maybe a little bit in The Phantom Menace, but you realize that he's a lot more alike to Anakin than he lets on, which is really interesting, because he doesn't come off as that. He comes off as a mentor to Anakin that is like the perfect embodiment of a Jedi, like, do things for good and fight for justice and do all this. But then you realize that there is a side of Obi-Wan that can relate to Anakin, that he does have emotions and that he's human after all. And I thought it was really nice, but it was a surprise, to be sure. I never expected that, but it was really a surprise, but it felt right, I think.
Yeah, I mean, again, surprised to see it. It does make a little bit of sense, at least in Clone Wars. Say what you want about it. Again, going to that filler word, there's a lot of what people consider, even myself, some filler episodes. But all the Mandalore episodes or everything between Obi-Wan and Satine makes sense. It doesn't seem forced. It kind of, knowing what happens with Satine, unfortunately being killed by his nemesis Darth Maul right in front of him, kind of also then gives a little bit more credence to him telling Anakin, try not to have any attachments. Look at what happens.
Right.
So when also Yoda tells Anakin, train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose, it also is coming from from Kenobi, who just lost, apart from his master, just lost the other person he's ever loved. And I don't remember exactly when I saw this the first time, but I was rewatching a little bit of the episodes a few weeks back. And there's that great scene when Satine is being captured, or Obi-Wan is captured, and he tells her, hey, if you had told me that first time to leave the order, I would have left the order for you. And that's something I never thought I would hear from Obi-Wan, because I will talk a little bit about it at the end. He's always had that Jedi mentality that he doesn't break. He's always in that Jedi path. But it's great. Like you said, it makes him feel human. He's not this Jedi robot, just follow the Jedi code and that's it. He does have emotions. He expresses them with the people that he really cares about. And then, unfortunately, after being on and off with Satine during the Clone Wars, then we have Darth Maul and everything he does with the Mandalorians and the Darksaber. And I saw this yesterday because I didn't remember when he killed Satine how it went. And then Obi-Wan's captured. He thinks he's the one that's going to be killed. And he's like, same thing as always. Maul is telling him, oh, you should turn to the dark, all the anger that you have. And Obi-Wan, being the great Jedi that he is, no, the light is stronger. You're weak because you're in the dark side. Kill me. I'm going to be even stronger now, similar to what he tells Vader. And then Maul, being the bastard that he is, no, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to make you suffer like you made me suffer. And then does this heinous act of just stabbing Satine right then. So I can't imagine, again, from Obi-Wan's perspective, maybe he was trying to keep his feelings in check so something like this didn't happen, and unfortunately it did anyways, and it just keeps adding to another of those acts that adds to his agony and suffering.
I can't imagine the kind of feelings that Obi-Wan must have inside of him. You know, on a very human level, we all bottle up our feelings sometimes. I think we've all had that experience, whether it's just little things or big things. I think we've all had moments where we just need to bottle it up because that's the right thing to do. Yeah. But Obi-Wan just seems to keep going. Every time he wants to feel something, he reminds himself that the order is his life, and he's given himself that, and he bottles it up and bottles it up and bottles it up. I can't imagine the kind of emotions that Obi-Wan must be hiding under his skin, because it has to be just this constant whirlwind ready to explode. But, you know, kudos to Obi-Wan just for keeping it all inside of himself. And, you know what, being a great mentor to Anakin. Right. I think him holding in all those emotions really shows that he does care about Anakin and cares how he turns out. He wants to be a great teacher and wants to show Anakin that you can do this. It's possible. Look, I'm doing it. It's very admirable of him to just keep going and keep believing in the Jedi, even though it probably hurts him to do so.
Yeah, it's taking everything away from him, but he knows that there's a greater good, I guess, at the other end. I think that Jedi should invest on a psychiatrist or something, and then just.
I hope they pay the Jedi psychiatrist a lot of money, because she or she would go home with some crazy scars.
Yeah. So it's great. This comment from one of our fans in the chat, Jessica. She says that Anakin sees Obi-Wan lose Satine, and that's when he swears that he won't lose Padme. And I think that's a great point. I hadn't really thought about it. But I think he saw what this did to Kenobi, how much he suffered, and knowing, and I can't go through this. I gotta find a way to save my wife. And I don't want to get into it. It was part of the what if we did last week. I think Anakin was always gonna fall anyways, because he was destined to find a way to save Padme, but that wasn't gonna happen. So, but yeah, I think it's a great point that he saw what it was doing to Obi-Wan, and he didn't want to feel that.
Absolutely. And that just feeds into your idea that he was going to fall anyway. I think that's the perfect, one of the perfect examples of why Anakin was going to fall. You know, Anakin is just built to fall to the dark side. Everything he has laid as his foundation is just built to crumble under him, whether that's destiny or his own choosing. Yeah. I think that is one of the main things that you get from that. And that's just Anakin's personality. You know, obviously Obi-Wan losing Satine probably could have turned into the lesson of, hey, you shouldn't have attachments because look what it's done to me. But Anakin takes it as, oh my God, look what's happened to Obi-Wan. I can't let that happen to me.
Yeah.
and he goes the other way with it, and it's a very give or take situation that makes you think, wow, Anakin maybe was destined to fall like that.
Yeah. Here we have another comment from X-Drive saying just at the end, he goes into Anakin's room when he has that issue with Clovis in the Clone Wars, and Obi-Wan says, Anakin, you've met Satine. These feelings are natural. So trying to give him that reasoning, but Anakin, like I said, he was going to fall anyway. Some of the things we talked last week was, what if Mace Windu killed Darth Sidious? Would that have stopped Anakin from falling? I know, because the only reason he was, not the only, but one of the reasons Anakin and Palpatine got Anakin on his side was, oh, I know how to save your wife. If he's out of the picture, that doesn't change Padme dying in Anakin's mind. So he's still going to find a way to try to save her. And again, attachment, jealousy, all those things will just drive into the dark side anyways. So it would have been a different path, but I think he would have fallen anyway to the dark side because he was so crazy in making sure that he found a way to save Padme.
Right.
But that's for another show, but yeah.
But it's just a great, it's just one of the great conundrums in Star Wars, and it's something that doesn't get appreciated a lot in the rest of story. Star Wars gets sort of brushed under the rug as this very simple story, but it's not, because you run into these issues where it talks a lot about, what is moral and what is right and what is just, and what's the difference between having an attachment and caring for somebody versus being obsessed and wanting to keep them for yourself. It's a very human, natural reaction and emotion, and you see it play out in two different forms. You see Obi-Wan have attachments and caring for people, but the difference between him and Anakin is that Anakin is obsessive and Anakin wants to keep it for himself. He doesn't want to just let that person be themselves. He wants Padme for him because it's all he has. So it's one of those great Star Wars themes and motifs that we could probably sit here and talk about till the sun comes up tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's, like we said at the beginning, that's one of the great reasons and options for having podcasts and YouTube shows, because these things that might just get brushed under the rug, other people know this. Look at everything that's underneath it, everything that is behind it, and having different perspectives about the same scenes. And again, that's why podcasts and YouTube shows exist and are so great right now. So after he already lost Qui-Gon Jinn, his master, again, probably his only father figure, like you said, he was. And we know from old Jedi, they take him very young, so he didn't have a family. He lost that part. Then loses Satine from Maul's vengeance. And then comes Anakin's fall to the dark side and what that does to Obi-Wan. And what we know from Revenge of the Sith, he's seen the hologram of Anakin killing younglings, so he doesn't want to see it. No, this can't be true. I can't go face him. Just send me to battle Sidious because I can't kill Anakin. Just even before he goes to Mustafar, he's already, again, broken down already. So, again, adding to his suffering, where do you put this, knowing that Anakin fell to the dark side, even believing that it was going to happen?
Just speaking on that scene where Obi-Wan tries to convince Yoda to not send him to kill Anakin is really speaks to what he's gone through in his life already. Like we just said, he lost Qui-Gon, he lost Satine, his order has already fallen. It's not coming back. You see in that moment, just for us, the slightest moment, that Obi-Wan has had enough.
Yeah.
Right. Like, don't send me to Mustafar. Send me to kill Sidious. I can't kill Anakin. Is Obi-Wan saying, I cannot do this anymore. I've already lost enough. Don't make me lose anything else. And it hurts. That hurts, man. That's tough. And Yoda makes the right call, because it almost feels like if he had gone to kill Sidious, he would have done it out of anger. He would have gone to Sidious and killed him in hatred, which is not the Jedi way. But either way, he's kind of doomed, because he has to go and kill Anakin, or at least hurt him enough that he doesn't become a menace. Like, he has no choice. And it hurts. because he didn't have a choice in anything else either. Like, he didn't have a choice in Satine dying. He had no control in that. He sat and watched his master die, which he literally had no control in because he was stuck behind the red force field.
Yeah.
So it hurts because Obi-Wan has never done anything in his life that he deserves this. It just keeps getting put onto him.
Yeah, I think the fall of the Jedi Order affecting him is sometimes not brought up. I hadn't really thought about it, but like we said before, he's all about the Jedi and what the meaning behind it. And seeing it fall is basically everything you thought of and you believe for your whole life. It's no longer there. You were not corrupted, but you fell because you were blind. And then apart from that, your brother, as you call him, just killed a bunch of younglings, just fell to the dark side, something that wasn't supposed to happen. It happened when he wasn't there. So again, he didn't have any control of it. Maybe if he was on Coruscant when this happened, he could have tried to bring him back. And then he has that choice. No, I can't go kill Anakin. Like you said, I've had enough. I've lost too much. I don't have it in me to do this one thing that is probably the last thing he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if he goes to fight Sidious, which I always said, and I did in one of my first shows, why I don't believe in Great Jedi or the meaning behind it, everything that Obi-Wan has lost. If he goes to fight Sidious in anger, not just for the fall of the Jedi, I think he will do it more because of turning Anakin to the dark side. Mm-hmm. And then that's just anger and vengeance. Like you say, it's not the Jedi way. It's the only one that I see Obi-Wan falling to the dark side, or at least forgetting his Jedi ways. So I'm glad he didn't go, because probably he would have died anyways, and we didn't want that. But then unfortunately he's dealt, I think, an even worse hand, having to first confront Padme, which is basically his only other friend, and tell her, hey, I know your secret. I know he's the father, and look at what he just did, and now I have to go confront him. So that's gotta be difficult. I've had some tough conversations in my life. I don't want to have that one.
No, that's the toughest of all. I hope I never have to kill my brother and tell his girlfriend that I have to kill him. That sounds like a horrible conversation to have. Yeah. But you're right. I mean, in that moment, he loses Padme too, because now Padme probably is not about Obi-Wan either.
Yeah.
You know, like Padme's like, oh, great. You know, because Padme is still very loyal to Anakin in that moment. Right? Like, Padme is still very much like, Anakin would never do that. How could you say that? You know, are you sure? Or, like, you can't go kill him. Like, you can't. So in that moment, he loses Padme as well. He tells her, I'm sorry. Like, I need to do this. Yeah. And that's their friendship right there. You know, and then that's the last conversation they have, because the next time he sees Padme is when Anakin chokes her.
Yeah. I mean, and Padme, she believed Anakin all the way through. She went over there trying, hey, I don't believe they're saying these things about you. They can be true. They can be true. Come back with me to Naboo. We'll figure it out over there. But then Anakin is just possessive, as we know. No, come with me and we'll rule the galaxy. It'll be just you and me overseeing everything. And she's like, no. This. What are you doing? This isn't the way. And then we have Obi-Wan show up. Anakin's already lost it when he sees Obi-Wan on that platform. Oh, you brought him here to kill me. You're a liar, and then chokes her out. And then comes one of my favorite parts of all of Star Wars, and it's from that point on, that conversation between Anakin and Obi-Wan till the end of Return of Revenge of the Sith. At least that part in Mustafar is one of the most emotional parts of all of Star Wars. It's that conversation between the two of them. Kenobi pleading to Anakin, what are you doing? The Emperor just ate your mind. He just lied to you. Oh, you're here. You don't care. You're just here to kill me. No, I'm for the Jedi. I'm for the Republic. And then I should do what I must, or whatever he says.
Right.
And that great battle, it's
almost one of the weirdly perfect examples of the 5 stages of grief, right? Like, you see Obi-Wan's denial in the beginning, you know, when he's at the Jedi Temple with Yoda, you know, he's saying to Yoda, you know, I don't believe it. I can't believe this. Don't make me do it. You know, he's denying. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He can't take it. And then you see him go to Mustafar, and he's angry, right? He's angry at Anakin. You know, he steps off the ship and he's like, oh, let her go. Let her. You know, he's angry at him. And then he tries to bargain with him, right? The whole battle is a bargain with Anakin. the whole battle is him trying to get to him. That's the struggle there. That's the conflict. And then you see him obviously have to kill Anakin, or air quotes, kill Anakin, or so he believes that he did.
Yeah.
And then he goes into depression on Tatooine, and then at the end he accepts his fate and gets killed by Darth Vader. But Obi-Wan's journey is almost weirdly, and especially in those moments, those final moments of Revenge of the Sith, just the perfect examples of the 5 stages of grief.
Yeah, that scene at the end, just him. I can just put this up for everyone watching on the chat. Again, Obi-Wan there just yelling at Anakin, "You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you. You were supposed to bring balance, not living in darkness." It's everything that Obi-Wan has lived for and believed his whole life, and trained Anakin to be this chosen one, just thrown away. And he's part of it. He's the one that's leaving him there to burn, to die, because he can't kill them. He can't kill him. Basically, he's letting him die, which is it even worse? Well, he couldn't bring himself to do that. But again, it's everything that Obi-Wan has believed his whole life just crumbles. But then goes to why he's such a great Jedi, that he's still on that path. He's like, what can I do now? He could have said no, that twins of this person that I just had to kill, my brother that turned my world upside down, I'm not gonna look after him. No, I'm gonna step back, tell my psychiatrist I need a few weeks off, I'll find him later. And then just gonna protect this child, because I can't let him go through the same thing that I just went through and that his dad just went through. I gotta protect him. So again,
you're absolutely right. Because you gotta think about Obi-Wan's whole journey as a Jedi and all that he lost. His master, his love interest, the person he probably loved the most, someone that he almost left the Jedi Order for, and then his whole order.
Yeah.
There it is. If you haven't read the Revenge of the Sith novelization, you're missing out. You really are.
I'm getting
but all the things that he loses, the Jedi Order itself.
Yeah.
That he does all of that. He lives his whole life for Anakin. Everything he does in Obi-Wan's life, he reconciles with, I have to do this because Anakin's going to make everything right. Right? Anakin's going to bring balance to the Force. I need to go through this for him. And then right in front of him, he leaves.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how angry he must have been in that moment on Mustafar, and how disappointed he must have been, because his whole life just stopped right there on Mustafar. Everything that he went through, the loss of Qui-gon, the loss of Satine, the loss of the Order itself, just stops on Mustafar.
Yeah, I don't know how it keeps going. And then unfortunately for him, it doesn't stop there. Then he goes to Tatooine to look out for Luke. I'm gonna protect this child. I'm gonna make sure nothing happens to him. And then 15, 16, I don't know how many years later, of him looking after Luke Skywalker, and we'll see what happens in the Obi-Wan series. Then we have the great episode from Rebels with Darth Maul showing up. And then it goes to, again, Maul just baiting Kenobi. Oh, look at yourself. You're a rat in the desert. And Kenobi, oh, look what I've risen above. You're still in the same path that has brought you nothing but misery, and everything that Maul tried to do always backfired. So I'm fine. And Kenobi's always, like you said, he was bargaining with Anakin in Mustafar. Here he's kind of deflecting Maul, kind of just trying to settle the conversation. No, we're not going to have this fight. There's nothing for you here. You've messed your life up. I'm fine here, until Maul then, oh, you're here protecting someone. And then he snapped. Not snap, but he goes into that Jedi mode that, no. We're not going through this again.
Yep.
I'm here protecting this child. That's my life purpose now. That Order might not exist, but I'm still doing my part. And my part is looking after Luke Skywalker. And I'm not going to let you do anything against him.
And I think Obi-Wan pities Maul.
Yeah, of course.
I think Obi-Wan doesn't want to kill Maul. I think he's moved past that point in his life. I think he definitely is like, don't want to do this to you. You're like,
Right.
you need to go and live your part of your life, and I need to live mine. And when he kills him, I think that hurts a little bit of Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
Like
I
when he
mean, we
has
see
to.
it. We see when he could have just slashed him and kept walking. No, he goes, picks him up, and comforts him the same way he did Qui-Gon when Qui-Gon died. Picks him
Mhm.
up at that last conversation. He couldn't just forget about Maul. Again, kill Qui-Gon, his master, killed the love of his life in Satine. It's part of the dark side. He could it's justified if he just leaves him there. But no, he brings him up and then has a final conversation with him so he can go in peace. Who does that?
I
No
know.
one. Yeah.
No one. But that just speaks to Obi-Wan's character and all that
Yeah.
he's been through. I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have done that if he had not been through all he had been through. I think he in that moment he relates with Maul. He doesn't want Maul to go out not knowing and not at peace. And I think Obi-Wan relates to him because I think he feels the same way. I don't think Obi-Wan wants to go out not in peace and not being fully certain that life is going to be okay without him. And obviously he does in Obi-Wan's own end, he goes out with peace and purpose.
So in that, all then to kind of wrap this conversation up, because we can say, yeah, that's it, he doesn't lose anymore. But then he has to face Vader one last time, which he knows that Vader is past the point of no return, basically. But that still has to eat at him a little bit. Go confront Anakin one final time and just stand there in front of him and, hey, it's time. You're going to have to kill me because it's the end for us. You'll have to kill me, but I'll be stronger now than I was before. But he still has to eat at him a little bit, don't you think? Having to go face Darth Vader one last time.
Yeah, I think he absolutely probably gets an onrush of memories in that moment. I think Darth Vader represents everything that's gone down for him in his life. You know, Anakin was Obi-Wan's life for the longest time. So I think in that moment, yeah, I think he is burning alive in that moment. But I think he in that moment realizes that not only is he falling back on all of his bad memories, but probably also all of his good memories, and remembers that he has to die for the good of the Jedi Order. And he has to die so that he can continue to help Luke and continue to guide him along and be there for him when nobody else can be there for him. You know, as a Force ghost, he helps Luke more than he does in the physical realm, right? So I think he realizes that too. Like, he has to die to help Luke whenever he can, right? Like, to be with Luke all the time rather than just some of the time in the physical realm.
Yeah. So yeah, through all this, we've said it too many times. As you go kind of round out a little bit, he lost Qui-Gon by the hands. First, he doesn't know his family. You can say that always has some effect on you. Then he lost his master, lost Satine, lost the Jedi Order, lost Anakin more than once, and then has to battle Maul and Vader one last time. But he still stays through the light, doesn't waver at any point, trying to give into anger or sadness, revenge, anything. He's the constant Jedi. And that's why, for me, he's my favorite Jedi, because he embodies everything that a Jedi should be, either good or bad. You can say that the Jedi Order was too far gone by the time of the prequels. But if you go through what the Jedi should be, I think Obi-Wan Kenobi embodies that, and he shows it throughout this whole saga. So any final thoughts on Kenobi or anything else in this topic?
Yeah, I think we covered it all, and
Yeah.
I don't. It's hard to put into words, actually, what Obi-Wan goes through, and I think we did the best we could. But you know, when people say, "Oh, Anakin suffered the most," or Ben Solo, or Leia, and all those answers are right. I always think about how Obi-Wan not only went through more loss than the rest of those guys, but handled it better than the rest of them as well. Obi-Wan, for me, will always probably be one of the most, if not the most, compelling character and have one of the most interesting story arcs in any story ever told of all time.
Yeah. Great way to finish this conversation, and hopefully with the Kenobi series coming out soon, we'll get more of this great character and everything. Hopefully it takes that right after Revenge of the Sith and all the suffering he went through and how he dealt with it. So can't wait for that series.
Man, I can't wait either. And especially to have Ewan back to play Obi-Wan Kenobi.
It's gonna be so great.
I think he and this is obviously one of the more accepted parts of the prequels, but he was probably one of the best parts of the prequels.
Yeah,
if not the best part. I think Obi-Wan and Ewan McGregor go together like peanut butter and jelly. He absolutely killed the character, and I cannot wait to see him back because he just kills it when he's in it.
Yeah. All right. So great talk about Anakin Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker. We threw him in there a little bit.
We did.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. So let's go to one of my favorite parts of the show, and it is our fan questions, which we call here Ask the Rebellion. So we did get a few questions. We had 2 questions from some of our fans. One of them, it's in the chat. I don't know if he's still there. And it has to do with our topic today. So let's go ahead and read this real quick. So Ben, who was in the chat, and you can find him on Twitter at ChincyBitnik, and he says, #Ask the Rebellion. Where would you like to see the story of Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Satine's year on the run be told? Novel, audio drama, flashback in the Kenobi Disney Plus series. So this something came up in the chat actually earlier today. One of our fans was talking about that one year. I think it's mentioned in the Clone Wars season 2 or whenever the first time that Satine and Obi-Wan meet in the Clone Wars, that when Kenobi and Qui-Gon go to help Satine because she's being attacked by some of the Mandalorians and some bounty hunters, they spend a year in the run, I guess, in Mandalore. So would you like to see this in some medium?
Yes. Yes, I can't wait actually to see it because I know we're going to at some point. There's no way that they don't cover it just because it's one of the biggest pieces of Obi-Wan's life story. I think that has to be covered. I thought it was going to be covered in Master and Apprentice before it came out, but they didn't do that. And to be honest with you, I would love to see it covered in a full-length novel, like 450, 500 pages. I would love to see Claudia Gray write it. I think Claudia Gray has a great history with with romantic love stories. She did a fantastic job on Lost Stars. Yeah. I mean, just an impeccable job in that book. And I think she'd be the perfect writer. Actually, having history writing Obi-Wan not only in Master and Apprentice, but in Master and Apprentice, the title of her her from a certain point of view story. So I think she'd be the perfect person to do that. I don't think it should be a flashback in the Obi-Wan series. Quite frankly, as someone coming from the broadcast profession and that career, I think flashbacks are sort of a lazy way to tell stories. I think if you're going to tell a story, tell it. Don't throw it in somewhere. Like, give it its own time to air out and play over time. So I think a novel would just be absolutely fantastic to tell that story.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. When I saw this question come in, I first didn't realize that this happened. And again, I watched the Clone Wars so many years ago, I didn't remember this. So I went back and checked, and they are in that 1 year in the run. And I went straight, give me live action. But it can be in the Kenobi series. It can be a 5 minutes flashback. This is something that needs to be spread out longer. Mm-hmm. And I went, no, this has to be a full-length novel. And who else? If it's not Claudia Gray, I mean, there's some great Star Wars writers out there. But for this type of story, give me a YA story from Claudia Gray. She did great with Master and Apprentice, great with the story from a certain point of view. And Master of Apprentice and Lost Stars is... I got late into Lost Stars. I bought it maybe 2 years ago. And it's the only book, and I'm not afraid to say it, or at one point I had to stop at the end of a chapter. I was starting to tear up. Because she writes so great, those love stories.
I feel exactly the same way. It was one of those, I actually, there's a couple of books that I had to put down just because my mouth was open. Like I couldn't read anymore. And it was The Deathly Hallows, and Lost Stars. I read that whole book in 2 days, in 2 sittings. Towards the end of that book, it gets so good. Mm-hmm. It's again, like you just said, it's one of those only books that I had a real emotional reaction to. And obviously she has some great history writing the Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn character. And I think she would be absolutely fantastic writing Satine. I would not be surprised in one bit if Lucasfilm hasn't already asked her.
Yeah. Is that a rumor? Do you have a scoop? that we're gonna.
I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to put it on Twitter.
No, don't do that. But yeah, this is something that everyone would eat this up, and if you're gonna do it, you have to bring Claudia Gray into it. So thanks, Ben. That's a great question, and we do hope to see this happen. All right, so our second and last question comes from our friend Bob the Burger Guy, which you can find on Twitter. It's a little long, but William23219045, friend of the show. Yeah, it's a little bit hard to say, but friend of the show. He's a Mandalorian fan, a Baby Yoda fan. He's trying to set up a Baby Yoda con, I think in November. Get a couple of podcasts. We're going to do a few shows. I'm working with him. We might do something. But going back to kind of the rumors we talked about before, and it's talking about that Mandalorian 2 sneak peek, and when do you think we might see something? So I've always said that it makes sense to do it next week, which is the week that Star Wars Celebration was going to happen anyways. And I think this is where we're going to start hearing official news from Lucasfilm and Disney. So it does make sense to do something next week. Do you think we're going to get this at some point soon or maybe later?
Next week definitely makes sense. I think it would make sense to do that during the original week of Star Wars Celebration. I would not be surprised if it was later. I mean, we went a long time before we learned anything about the first season of The Mandalorian. So I would not be surprised at all if it was later than next week. But I feel like the window is closing for them to hop on this and start sharing some information. But next week definitely sounds like an adequate time frame.
Yeah, because I think season 2 starts early in August. In October. I think it's the first week of October. So we're there. September is 2 weeks from now. So they got to start. I know everyone loves Mandalorian, but we've said before, their Lucasfilm marketing for some things hasn't been the best. And being 2 months or a month away from season 2 starting, I have not seen anything. It's a little weird. So yeah, the window is closing.
But you know what? The fact that we haven't seen anything makes me believe that there's going to be a lot of great twists and turns in this series.
Yeah, and that's when I hope that all the rumors and stuff that came out months ago, everyone that was coming in, I hope, even though I do want some of those people to show up, I hope they don't. So we're not, we heard about this. I do want to be surprised.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I think that does it for today. Anything else you want to talk about, Ian, before we start saying our goodbyes?
My friend, it's just been an absolute privilege to be on this show. This has been absolutely fantastic. We've been talking for an hour and a half now, and it's just been a great Star Wars conversation the entire time. I'd love to be on again.
Oh, don't worry. We'll figure out how to get your camera working, and I'll call you back, and we'll do.
Yeah, something. What the heck is up with that? My laptop just decided to stop working at my finest hour here. This is ridiculous.
I know. There's always something. Last week, I couldn't hear my guest, so I had to go without my headphones, which I don't like. But yeah, great having you here. Like I said before, we both said it. Fans of each other. Love having you here. I'll call you again. We'll keep going about this, or we'll find something else to talk about. Love to be on your show if you want at some point.
Absolutely. I would love to have you on.
Yeah, we'll figure something. So where can our fans find you?
Well, of course, you can find me on Twitter, as it scrolls across the bottom, at @TalkWithMyHans_. I'm on there all the time, constantly. I love interacting with the fans on Twitter and with all my followers. It's one of my favorite parts of being on Twitter, talking with you guys down in the comments section and just having a couple of chats. And of course, you can find me on YouTube, Talk with My Hans, or Talking with My Hans, I should say. I don't even know the name of my own YouTube channel.
I mess up my name so many times.
But yeah, Talking with My Hans on YouTube. It's the same picture that you see on your screen right now. The picture of Han Solo looking like a doofus and with the red ring around it. We got a lot of great videos coming up. We were just talking about it off air before the show started, but I got a lot of great videos coming up, and I'm very active over there. And my real life job is sort of winding down now. I'm a lifeguard, so obviously not too many people coming to swim in September, so I'm going to have some more free hours. We're going to start making some more videos in the wintertime, and obviously we got some more Star Wars content coming out in a month or so with The Mandalorian, so
Cool.
expect all of that to show up on the channel. So we'd love to have you by. I'd love to see you. Come say hello. Don't be afraid to send me a DM or shout me out on Twitter. I love talking to you guys.
Yeah, we'll figure something out at some point. Again, thanks for being on the show today. Thanks for everyone that was on the chat listening to this. And as always, I sometimes forget the name of my show, but I always forget at the beginning to say, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hopefully you like this chat and give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment if you're watching this later in the repeat. And if you're listening to this on the podcast when it comes out, don't forget to rate and review the show also. You can find me here on YouTube at Radio Rebellion Podcast and on Twitter and Instagram at Radio Rebel Pod and my personal Twitter at Tweets by AC. And we try to do shows every week. So far, they've been great. Season 2 has been fantastic. Every week we've had a new guest and every show has been great. Next week, we're setting something a little bit different because it's with a new podcast that even hasn't thrown out their first episode. But just as we said at the beginning, these communities helping each other. So I should do my part and help other people that are coming up in the fandom, I guess. Plus, they're from my home. They're from Puerto Rico, so I gotta give them the shout out. So Triad of the Force, we're trying to figure something out for next week. So make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can catch that when it comes out next week. And with that said, thanks again, Ian, for being here. Thanks for everyone out there. So stay safe, be safe, and may the Force be with you.